Hey YouTube, you're watching Ready Set Drone, and today I am super excited to tell you that we can replace these. We can replace these, and we can replace these with what's in this box right here. So stay tuned and we'll check it out. So for anybody who's been into flying FPV for a while, you probably know what these are. These are Fat Shark Dominator 2 goggles, and I've had these for a couple years. They're great, they're workhorses, they get the job done, and I've learned to fly FPV using these for quite some time and have enjoyed them. Then along came these Aomway goggles, and I like these even better because they had two antennas for diversity, meaning that I got a clearer signal, still a little bit glitchy analog signal, but a great second pair of FPV goggles that I've been wearing for a while. Now both of these are analog receivers, meaning that they receive an analog signal over 5.8 gigahertz, and that means that the picture is sometimes kind of fuzzy, sometimes kind of drops out with snow and that sort of thing. Then along came the DJI goggles. Now these came out, I want to say about a little less than a year ago, and these changed everything for flying FPV with a DJI Mavic or a drone that has an HDMI port. These are a digital signal. These have two HD 1920 by 1080 screens side by side, one for each eye, so the total resolution is like 3840 across and 1080 tall. It just means you get a great picture with these. They fit really well. They are amazing. The problem is they don't have any way to pick up an analog signal. So if you're flying the Mavic or the Spark or the Phantom 4 or Phantom 4 Pro, you use these. If you're flying an analog FPV racer, like I love to do, you use these or these. And so you're basically stuck with a lot of different goggles that you have to change out, which is, you know, not that huge of a deal. But now DJI has announced their DJI Goggles Racing Edition. Now these are very similar to these right here, except these now have not only a digital Ocusync signal that they can receive, but also the 5.8 gigahertz FPV signal analog that the others receive. So in addition to the goggles themselves, here's the other stuff that comes in the box. Most importantly, this is your analog antenna. And the old goggles did not have this little port right here to plug your analog antenna into. This one just screws in clockwise. Just take it like so. And this is going to pick up your 5.8 gigahertz standard analog FPV signal. And it does a really good job of that. I'm not sure what this little clip is for. And it does come with an HDMI cable. This is a full-size HDMI on one side and a micro HDMI on the other. The micro HDMI goes into the goggles and the full-size goes into anything you want. You can plug this into a DVD player, you can plug it into a Apple TV, a Roku, a Phantom 4 remote, an Inspire 2 remote, any of those things, and you get an HDMI signal right here in the goggles. It comes with a charging cable. This is just a little micro USB cable that plugs in right back here on this side. This is where you charge it. The way this thing sits on your head is you pop it down like this. You can loosen, there's a little wheel in the back you can loosen with, and then you find a spot that's comfortable, pull the visor down over your eyes, and there you go. And the nice thing is you can actually pop these up when you're not filming or when you're not flying, and you know, you can still leave it on your head, but they can go up like this. So just like the old goggles. So you can wear these over glasses, that's a possibility. And there is a wheel down here that actually is designed for moving back and forth so you can get the best picture for your eyes. So if it looks a little blurry or you're having issues with the way it looks, turn this wheel and you can adjust the actual focus of the screen relative to your eyes. This entire side over here is a touch screen. Now this touch screen is just like on the old goggles, but one big difference now, when you swipe two fingers down, you go into a menu that allows you to switch between digital FPV and analog FPV. So that's really where you're going to be able to make the connection to your FPV racer. You swipe two fingers down, you'll see the menu, you scroll through the menu, and you choose your analog FPV racer, and once you do, you can actually just pick the channel or have it scan all the channels to find that signal so that you can actually connect with the transmitter on your FPV racer. There are other adjustments you can make, one of which it's pretty interesting is this zoom scale settings, which is the second one here. So I'm going to go down and do that, and I'm going to go over and actually, you can see it's zooming the screen out to be larger. And the reason it's doing that is because this isn't a full HD transmission. This is a SD transmission. And so it is actually making the screen, the signal, fill the screen a little bit better. All right, now there is actually a record capability in these goggles, and that's this front button right here. You put a micro SD slot or card into the micro SD slot and you can record a signal from your analog source. So I'm gonna try flying with that. Let's see. Here we go. And wow, I will tell you, it is a much bigger, brighter, and easier to see image than my Fat Sharks or my Aomways. I mean, you're still getting that analog dropout as you fly around things and behind things, but wow, just as far as the size of the image and the brightness of the image, and it's less dropout than I was getting with my analog goggles. And the range is pretty decent. You can see I'm kind of on the other side of the house, and no, don't hit that chair. Alright, I'm going to bring it back over here and land it. Try to land it on the table. Let's see if I can do that. Alright, stop, baby. Woo! And there I am. You can see me in the FPV. Alright, I'm going to stop recording. I'll pull those off. Now, of course, again, that was an analog signal. The Ocusync is going to be a lot better, and even a connection to an HDMI signal, it's going to be a lot clearer than that. But that gives you a pretty good idea of what it's like to fly with a cheap little FPV racer like this that only has a 25 milliwatt transmitter, by the way. It's a very small, weak transmitter in this thing. If you flew with a 200 milliwatt or a 600 milliwatt transmitter, you'd get a much clearer signal than that. So of course the ability to fly with a digital signal via Ocusync from a Mavic is amazing. The clarity is as good or better than on your phone. You don't have the sunlight getting in your eyes as you fly. You've got the entire heads-up display in the goggles. You can see your battery level, heading, distance, altitude, all that stuff right there. So it's a very immersive thing. That's really cool. And of course the ability to fly something like this Walkera Rodeo 110 or this little tiny whoop type FPV racer, analog racer I was just showing you, that's amazing too. But here's what's got me really jazzed. And now I'm kind of venturing into speculative territory because I don't know this for a fact. But here's what's got me really excited, is the ability to mount a digital transmitter that will transmit Ocusync onto a FPV racer. This is an old Helipal Storm racer that I have. It's one of the first racers I ever got. It's a very rugged one. It's a little underpowered with a 3S battery, but I've had a lot of fun with this guy. And what I have on it right now is an Ocusync transmitter and 2 Ocusync antennas. And so this thing is actually transmitting an Ocusync signal that gives me crystal clear FPV through these goggles. Not the analog, glitchy, dropout kind of stuff, but the kind of FPV that you get here on your Mavic on this drone. Now, that leads to a lot of questions. Is DJI planning to have people build their own kits and put their own Ocusync transmitters onto FPV racers? Or is DJI actually planning to release their own racer? I don't know. I wish I did. I would be all over it if they did. But as of right now, I do not know what their plans are. But it's got me very excited because the clarity of flying this thing with the Ocusync transmitter on it blows away any sort of analog thing before. And as much as I would love to think I could race this guy, because it's a very fast drone, it's too expensive. It's got too nice of a camera on it, and I don't want to mess up my little beautiful platinum baby here. So I'm more inclined to rebuild this guy with better Ocusync transmission than I am this guy, because this takes all kinds of beautiful video and photography. This one here is purely dedicated to racing, and that's what it's built for. And that's why I feel like a racing drone with Ocusync built in would be just amazing. And it is, based on what I've experienced on this guy. So there you have it. One pair of goggles that will fly analog, digital, and Ocusync. To me, that's a game changer. And not only will it do all of those, but to me, I believe that the look of the analog signal in these is much better than what I was getting from my Fat Sharks or my Aomways. Flying with even this little 25 milliwatt transmitter in this is a much more immersive experience, and I'm getting what I feel like is a clearer signal through them. It may be that the antenna system is better. It may also just be that having two 1920 by 1080 monitors right in front of your eyes is vastly superior to what you have in less expensive or smaller FPV goggles. Regardless, I'm super psyched. I'm planning to take these with me wherever I go fly, whether I'm flying my Mavic, whether I'm flying my Phantom 4 with HDMI cable, or whether I'm flying FPV racers, tiny whoops, and full-on 250s. These are going to be my goggles of choice. If you're interested in getting the full specs on these and potentially buying some from DJI, I'll put a link in the description below. And if you want to know more about drones and FPV racing and DJI and all those great things, please subscribe to Ready Set Drone. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.